Hi everyone. So I read chapters 7 and 9 for this discussion, and I picked these two because they kind of tied in with one another. Chapter 9 built on what I read in chapter 7, which I really liked. So chapter 7 was about developing early number concepts and number sense, and it was about the foundation of math for children and developing that early number sense and understanding what numbers mean and what they look like and what they represent. There were a lot of activities and formative assessments included in this chapter. So I think if you teach kindergarten or even preschool and up into first grade, this chapter could be really useful for you just because of the number of activities and formative assessments that they included that you can use directly. They're already prepared, ready to use in your classroom. So I really liked that. The biggest takeaway from this chapter for me was using number sense in their world. So it explained all the different types of learning trajectories, cardinality, counting on, more or less, equal to, all of that stuff. But then it talked about how we can connect that number sense that they're learning into their own world. And you can do this by using calendar activities, estimation and measurement, and reasoning and interpreting data. Just the fact that they included that it's important to show students how they can use math in the real world, making that connection to outside of school and how they're going to use it outside of the kindergarten classroom or the first grade classroom. Developing that early number sense so that they can carry that with them throughout the rest of their years. So that was the biggest takeaway from that chapter, again, with all of the activities and formative assessments I thought would be really helpful for a kindergarten teacher. Then for chapter 9, this is teaching and assessing the basic facts. So after you learn the number sense and how to make a 10 and all of that early concept stuff, then you're moving on to learning and memorizing math facts. Whether that's addition, subtraction in the earlier grades, and then moving on up to multiplication and division. And it kind of touched on a little bit of all of those. The biggest takeaway for me from this chapter was on page 208. It talked about fact remediation and how certain students who have not mastered their facts, and it kind of discussed that and then had a table which discussed the common challenges and misconceptions related to basic fact fluency. And it was table 9.3 if you want to look at that. But reading through that, it really helped explain how students who don't know their facts might not have them memorized. It might be a previous problem. So it might be a counting strategy problem. Back in, they talked about the 3 phasing of learning facts, which phase 1 is counting strategies, which is like count with your fingers, count with objects. Phase 2, which is reasoning strategies, being able to come up with a strategy in your head to figure out how to solve a problem. And then phase 3, which is mastery, knowing 3 plus 3 is 6, 6 plus 5 is 11, like just knowing those facts, the memorization part. And it just talked about the students who have not yet mastered those facts. It's a problem with phase 1 or phase 2. It's not just that they need to sit and memorize facts. And this chapter also talked a lot about how flashcards and time tests are out. And they're not as helpful as we used to think that they were. And so I really liked this section just because it reminded me that they don't just need to sit and do flashcards because they can't memorize their facts. It's a deeper problem. It's a deeper meaning. And so we need to evaluate those kids and then meet them where they're at and work with them from there instead of just shoving flashcards down their throat like I know a lot of us probably did while we were in elementary school. So again, that was on page 208, and I really enjoyed reading that section. The extra resource that I found during reading these 2 chapters that kind of related, it's gfletchy.com, and I added the link in the discussion post, but it is progression videos. So the first one is just early number and counting, and it's the progression from birth almost, or when they can begin using numbers and counting, all the way up until when early numbers and counting transition to the next phase. But these videos give teachers a really good idea of the different steps that students need to be hitting in order to gain that number sense and to get that conceptual understanding of why 2 + 2 = 4. I'm a very visual person, and so I can read it in a textbook all day long, but for me, the videos helped me see the progression even better, and it made more sense in my head. So if you're a visual person like I am, I suggest you check out that link. It's a really good resource in order to see. And they also have addition and subtraction, multiplication and division, any type of math progression that you might need for any grade. You can check out those videos, and it'll show what they should have learned, what they should be learning right now, and then what they're going to need to be learning next. So that was all I had for the chapters. The only question that I kept kind of thinking of, especially when reading chapter 9, they really emphasized don't use flashcards, don't use time tests. And I know a big part of my elementary school math career was doing all of those things. So I was wondering, I'm not in the classroom right now, so I don't know, but are those still being used? Is this something that is extremely new, or are we slowly transitioning out of it? I'm kind of just curious on how much those are used in the classroom now. I don't know if anyone can give me any insight, but yeah, I think that is all for me. So thanks for watching.